In this video, we're going to talk about compound interest, what it is, how to use it, and most importantly, how to get really rich using compound interest. Now, I'm not going to get too technical with compound interest and go through the formulas, but we are going to go through some examples so you have a better understanding of what compound interest is and how to get really rich using it. And at the end of the video, I'm also going to show you a calculator that I use on my phone almost every day that uses compound interest to help quickly calculate the numbers for you. But before we get into it, if this is your first time at our channel or you haven't subscribed, click on the subscribe button at the bottom. My name is Travis Sickle, certified financial planner, helping you reach your financial goals. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into it, and we're going to go through a simple interest calculation so you can understand how compounding works. So this is really the building blocks of it all. So let's go ahead and start with our $100. If we invested $100 at an 8% rate of return, we'd simply take this $100 and multiply it by 8%, which is 0.08. And that would equal $108. So if we invested the $100 at 8%, simple interest would give us $8. Now, what most people think is that would occur each and every single year. So over a 30-year investment horizon, if we invested $100 and got $8 or 8% every single year, we would simply multiply our $8 by $30. So we would take our 108, we could take our $8 gain, multiply it by our 30-year time horizon, and that would give us $240. Now, we started with $100, so we would simply add the two together. 100 plus our $240 would give us $340. So with that example, investing $1, we would have to wait 30 years for that $1 to turn into $3.40. But with compound interest, we're actually taking that extra $8 every single year and making it work for us. So here's how that looks. If we go back to the same example, what we're doing is we're not only investing this $100 that we started with, but each and every single year, we're taking this $8 and making it work for us. So while after the first year, we only have $8, in years 2 and beyond, we're taking that $8 and then also applying that interest rate. So here's what that looks like. So taking that same example of $100 and multiplying it by our 8%, we are making $8. So I'm only putting the gain over here. Now in year 2, we're going to take our $108 and multiply that by 0.08 or our 8%. So we're having this $8 now work for us. So if we just simply take this $8 and multiply it by 0.08, so if we take it out by $8 times 0.08, that's going to be an additional 64 cents. So in year 2, we're going to have $8.64 more cents than we did from the previous year. So what that's going to look like, an additional $8. We're just going to multiply that $8 by our 8%, which is 0.64. That means in year 2, we're now going to have $116.64. So we didn't just make an additional $8, we made an additional $8.64. So in year 3, we're now taking that additional $16.64 and then multiplying that by the 8%. You have to think of it like a snowball. It starts small, but over time, it significantly increases in size the further along that we get. So to understand how this works year after year over a longer time frame of 30 or 40 years, I want to go to a Google Sheet so we can see all the math really quickly to see the effects of what is exactly going on with compound interest. So let's take our same example on this Google Sheet of $100, and that's what we're going to start with. And let me go ahead and increase this so we could see this a little bit better. And this is going to be in dollars and cents. We'll increase the font here. And our $100 is what we're going to invest, and it's going to be at an 8% rate of return. So I'll change that to a percent of 8. And then we will start our years 1 through 30. So this is going to be 1, 2, going on down. We're going to change this to a number, and we're going to put that to number right there, going down. 2, 3, 4. Highlight that. Pull it down for 30 years. We'll actually go to 40 just so we can see the total effect here. And we're going to take this column right here, and I'm going to take away those zeros. There we go. And then this is going to be our initial investment of $100. So we can quickly change it so I can show you all the effects. And this is going to be multiplied. So this multiplied by our 8%, which will give us our $8. And then this is going to be the sum of the $100 plus how much we're going to make. And that's 108. So then our year 2 will then show what we made after year 1, which is our 108. So we're going to say equals this number right here, and then we can see this. So I'm going to go ahead and make this the same number each time. So the purple will be the same 8% each and every single time. So we can go ahead and drag this down, and drag this down, and it should start to populate here. So we can see all the numbers here. Drag it all the way down to our 40 years. I'll expand these so we can see them a little clearer, and we'll scroll the top, and then we'll start talking our way through this. So in year 1, we invested our $100 and we made $8. So that totals $108. Now in year 2, we're starting with our 108. So we're making that other $8 starting to work for us. So then that's where we get our additional 64 cents, because now we had that $8 also working for us. So rather than just making the $8 each and every single year, we're making a little bit more, like that snowball that we talked about. So we can put it right here that this is the gain for each year. This is the ending balance for each year. And we can expand that. So instead of seeing, and I'll just organize this a little bit better so we can see it, center this there. Now, rather than just having that $340 that we talked about with the simple interest, so we started with $100 at simple interest, means the 8% was only giving us $8 every single year, but we weren't reinvesting that $8 that we were actually making. And that is what compounding does for us. So our initial investment of $100 over 40 years would turn into $2,172.45. Or said another way, if we go back to our sheet and we change this to $1, $1 invested over 40 years at an 8% compound rate of return would give us $21.72. So first we had at simple interest, $1 at 8% would only give us $3.40. But because we're using compound interest, our $1 now becomes $21.72. Now, here's what's really interesting about looking at compound interest. And if we go back to this example and we put in our $100 again, it is how fast it grows the longer that we actually wait. So in the early days, we're looking at 108 turning to 116.64. But as we go further down, to go from year 39 to year 40, we're making significantly more money per year, where it's going from $149. Then in the 40th year, we made $160.92. So it is really that snowball and that growth. So when we're looking at reaching our goals, it's not just about the annual rate of return, but it's also about the time frame that we're investing. What this really means is that the earlier that you start investing, the better off you're going to be when you hit retirement. And we can also see from here that even though we started with $100, we ended with 2172.45, significantly more. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to start with a lot of money in order to be rich. You could start with a little sum of money, start that investment process, and then wait over time for it to grow. So to put this into perspective, that $5 cup of coffee that you're spending today is really $100 away from your financial future. Now, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't go out and buy cups of coffee or spend the money any way you see fit, because you certainly can. But hopefully this concept puts a higher value on each dollar that you're spending today. So now let's go ahead and jump into that calculator I was talking about in the very beginning so you can quickly do this math and really understand the concept of compound interest. So this is the calculator that I use on my phone, and I'll leave a link in the description at the bottom. I don't have any affiliation with the calculator. I think it costs a couple of dollars. I'm sure there's free versions out there, but I just want to go through so you can see exactly how this works. Now I'm going to go through the same example we just went through. And I'm going to go through this rather quickly just so you can get an understanding of how a calculator works and how you can do this math really quickly to understand compound interest. So I'm going to start with 1 year, and I'm going to hit 1, the shift key, and the N to give us the 1 year, 8% rate of return, same thing, and then our $100. And we're not going to put anything for payments. That's systematic payments. And FV is future value. So you can see our $108, and just ignore the negative symbol or the negative sign. And if we jump this 1 to 40 or 40 years and hit shift and N and go ahead and hit the FV, we can see that we get to our $2,172.45. Now, normally, if you're looking at this and you've already are familiar with the calculator, you would say, well, wait a second, shouldn't you do 12 payments a year or even 365 payments a year for compounding on a calculator? Yes, but I'm simplifying this walkthrough just so you can understand the concepts. So go ahead and check out some of my other videos to go through the calculator math. And I'll do some future videos. And of course, if you have questions, let me know in the comments down below on the calculator use for compound interest. So if we do all of this, we can even take it a step further and start to add in payments. So let's say that you started with $100, but you wanted to contribute additional money moving forward. Let's say $100 on a monthly basis. We would change our payments per year, which is right now at 1. We're going to change it to 12 payments per year. And you can see it says 12 now up there. We're going to go ahead and re-enter in our 40 years because we're going to have 480 months at an 8% with our initial investment of $100, but we're going to contribute $100 on a monthly basis. And then we can quickly figure out what that would look like at an 8% rate of return. And then we're going to get $353,855. So that was all basically a simplified walkthrough of how compound interest works. And also what would it look like if you started adding money towards your investments on a monthly basis. But you might still be wondering where I got the 8% from. And it really is more of a conservative number or a projection. It's an estimate. We don't really know what your investments will do over the long haul. We can only see what history has shown us and apply it towards the future. Of course, that's not a guarantee, but to show you those numbers of the S&P 500 over longer time frames, we can go to this chart right here. And this is the S&P 500 going from 2018 back to 1926, and I don't have the updated numbers for 2021, but from 2018 to 1926, the S&P 500 did a compound rate of return of 10%. And even if you go back many years, from 2018, 30 years back, if you're looking at 1988, we can see it did 10.2%. And if you look at any of these numbers going back further, you really don't see anything that even goes below 9%. I don't think any of these go below 9% going through it. No, none of them. But if you go to the earlier years, you can see that it's a little more volatile, or those numbers change a little bit more. Sometimes they're lower than our 8% target. but over longer time frames, you can expect a little bit higher rate of return. Again, history isn't a guarantee of future performance, but that is where we're pulling the numbers from. Now, you can certainly go in and put in 10%, but that really doesn't do anything to the actual investment. It's just a projection to give you an idea of how much you need to start with today or how much you have today. What would happen if you start adding to that on a monthly basis or a systematic one? And what would it look like over that long haul? So hopefully this gave you a better idea of how compound interest works and a calculator that you can actually run some math very quickly right from your phone. Now, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and of course, leave your comments down at the bottom.